Hi, my name is Eric George, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about cyberbullying and what we as teachers need to know and what we can do. So, just some quick facts about cyberbullying. 22.5% of young adults and teens have reported being the target of mean comments on the internet. About 35% have sent a screenshot or a picture of their screen in order to laugh at someone. Maybe it could be a funny picture, um, could be a comment, could be something that someone else said about them. 61% of those who have been bullied have said it has been based on their appearance. Instagram and Facebook are the most common sites in which the bullying is occurring, with Snapchat as the third most common. And 7 in 10 young people experience some sort of cyberbullying before they turn 18. So this is something that just about every single one of our students has faced um, and will face in the future. And as we continue to go more and more online, these types of bullying is going to become more and more prevalent. Some of the impacts of cyberbullying. There has been research and links to increase suicide rate as we've seen more rise of social media and more access to social media, especially within the teens. We are continuing to see higher rates of teen suicide. It can have lasting effects on self esteem and other mental health. It can cause anxiousness, it can cause depression, it can cause all sorts of different things. Students or young people who have had repeated cases of cyberbullying done to them have an increased linked to identity fraud later in life. So these people are having their identities stolen. And ultimately, it leads to some very dramatic and immediate effects that can affect students in the classroom, in their personal life, at home, and go much more beyond just the screen. So it leads to feelings of powerlessness, losing sleep, lower self esteem, and has even more negative effects than that. So, as teachers, it's important to understand what the law says. So, in 2000, the case JS versus Bethlehem Area School District, it found that schools do, in fact, have the ability to um, give out some sort of discipline for student behavior off campus or away from school that affects the school environment. So, there are some guidelines to when exactly this can happen. So when schools can intervene is when it directly affects learning. So maybe a student attacks systems, hacks computers, different things like that. It interferes with the educational process, so they could disrupt how learning and how school is happening. Uh, they do the cyberbullying from school owned technology. So it doesn't have to be anything school related they're doing, but as long as they're doing it on school related technology, schools can intervene. And anytime a student threatens another student, the school can intervene as well. So, as teachers, we need to understand what an effective school policy looks like. Okay, it's our job to help enforce this policy, to help ensure that the policy is actually effective and that we're actually implementing it. So, first and foremost, there needs to be specific definitions of what harassment, intimidation, and bullying actually look like. So that way we can specifically point to and be like, this is what you're doing. It says it right here. This is against the rules. Second, there needs to be graduated consequences and remedial actions. There needs to be clear, defined consequences for student action. Um, it needs to be scaled to the source of, how bad it is. Is it a repeat offender? What kind of damage are they doing? Things like that. There needs to be proper procedures in place for reporting, both for students and for staff. There also needs to be procedures for investigating any claim that comes to them. It's pointless to have a reporting mechanism if those claims go uninvestigated. There also needs to be clearly defined language for what off campus behavior is acceptable and unacceptable. And lastly, there needs to be procedures in place for preventing cyberbullying. It can be awareness, it can be trainings, it can be discussions, all sorts of different things. But these six things are um, crucial that all schools have and implement for their students. And then lastly, we have our references, and that concludes my presentation.